Okay, this is Hideous C doing a replay analysis. This is a team builder game at Bronze 5 ELO. Looking at Azir versus Lux. You speed up through till minions hit lane here unless something interesting happens. So, fairly standard stuff. Hecarim jungle, Ashe, Annie bot, Poppy top, which is a little unusual, but not that bad. MF Tom Kent, Shaco jungle, Ryze top, Lux mid. So, nothing too crazy. This is a fairly short game. It doesn't look like it got very far. But we'll take a look and see how it goes. Just a second, I'm going to look something up real quick. Okay, so you obviously start W on Azir. That's the only one you can start, I think. And then you'll want to, we'll just see what you end up doing here. It looks like your first item this game ended up being Morellonomicon, which is probably okay. In the next patch, Azir is losing the attack speed for cooldown reduction from his passive, but he's gaining it back on his W. So I'm assuming people will still max Q, because I don't think that his attack speed was so core to his kit that it's going to change what people max. But yeah, you'll want to max Q second, or first, level it second, but max it first. So first off, Lux is going to be able to probably push you around a little bit, just because she's going to be able to move to zone you out with her skill shots better than you will be able to at level 1, because you can't move your sand soldiers yet. So kind of doing what you're doing is okay. You want to make her choose between either CSing and pushing the wave or harassing you. And try not to let her do both, so you're trying not to just stand in your wave and let her hit you and the minions at the same time. Okay, just a little mechanical CS thing there. Should have let the turret hit it first, and then you could grab it with the last hit. So at this point, though, you have a point in all three abilities. So at this point, you should definitely be harassing her a bit. I mean, throwing up a soldier, auto-attacking, and then queuing it into her and auto-attacking. You know, from here, you could, like, yeah, kind of like what you're doing here, except that I don't think you hit her with it because she stepped forward. But that's kind of the idea, is throwing a Q and not moving it to where you won't be able to farm with it anymore, but just sliding it across the wave, or across like to the other side of the wave, so you can keep, you know, so it's still in range to last hit for you, but it's also in range to harass. So at this point you're pretty low, and you don't have a lot of mana left. So you got to be really careful, because she can get you to within lethal really easily. Yeah, and you're dead. Oh, you lived! Okay, nicely done. No, but you didn't. No, this is too dangerous. So the mistake here happened a while ago. So let's go back and look at this here, just see where this maybe could have been different. So right now things are fairly even in terms of health. You have a little bit of an edge. But you're starting to really have some mana issues, and Lux isn't. And plus your potions are gone and Lux's aren't. So right now Lux has a pretty sizable advantage in lane. She can stick around a lot longer than you can. Even if you guys like trade evenly in terms of health, she has potions to sustain it right back, and you're going to be out of mana and she's not. So you maybe have one trade left in you before you need to think seriously about recalling. So that means you gotta start really thinking pretty defensively, and you do that two ways. First of all, you got to be careful about where you're positioning. So right now where you're standing, it's really easy for Lux to hit a skill shot on you. And maybe you can see why that is, because you're standing next to a wall. So if Lux is looking, here's Lux, and she's looking and she wants to cast out her Lucent Singularity, her area of effect, or she wants to cast out Light Binding, either one. She's having, she's a skill shot, so she's thinking about where she wants to aim it. So if she's thinking, okay, I'm going to throw this at him, and I want to make sure it hits him, so I want to lead him a little bit, and I got to guess where he's going to dodge. So she's going to cast it out. So where are your options to dodge right now? Well, you only have one option. You can either stand exactly where you're at, or you can go this way. You can kind of maybe like do a little bit this way, but not enough for it to be meaningful, because you're up against a wall here. So pretty much you got to go this way. Or straight back, and this is most likely the way you're going to go because it's back toward the turret. So or this way, I guess. So you might just walk straight backwards, which just means that Lux needs to make sure that she's not casting out of range. So Lux is thinking, okay, this is the most likely way he's going to go. But if he does juke, he's going to juke this way because he doesn't have time to juke this way in a meaningful way. My skill shot will still hit him. So he's either going to try to just get out of range or he's going to try to juke down. So that means when Lux is thinking, okay, and where am I going to cast the skill shot? All she has to do is just air to this side a little bit. She casts it basically right at you and then just down a bit. Because if you juke, it still hits you. If you don't juke, it still hits you. If you move back, that's just a matter of making sure she steps up far enough to hit it. So let's look and see what she does here. Okay, so you don't juke. You're not really paying attention. You actually move into it. This is what's going to hurt you. Because now she hits you with that easily. She procs her auto attack. And now you're moving this way, which, I mean, makes sense. Moving this way is pretty risky too because it leaves you in auto attack range. But you're not like going to die from auto attacks. And honestly, if you move this way, Lux will quickly have to, not necessarily this way across her, but if you just move straight down toward the turret, Lux will very quickly have to come within turret range to keep attacking you. So you can move this way and then kind of stutter step, maybe step back and then keep going to try to dodge her light binding, because she's going to throw that out here. And so that's kind of what you do, but you took a step this way first. And so now, where maybe you could have been, instead of walking here and then coming down here, so you were here and you kind of walked this way and then you moved down this way, even further actually. You came down here and then you moved down here. So instead of doing that, if you just walk straight back, you've made it to about here in the same amount of time. And maybe you're able to juke because you have a little bit more space to work with. This is an easy skill. You're putting yourself in a place where it's pretty easy for Lux to hit your skill shot because your ability to dodge is limited in this space. So if you walk straight back here, you're closer to your turret, which means that maybe Lux has to move a little bit closer or is encouraged to move a little closer to the turret. She doesn't have as much room to move around without taking turret aggro. Your Q, is your Q on cooldown? Yeah, it is. Okay. So you can't use that. You throw out an auto attack, so that's fine. But she obviously wins that trade pretty hard. So right now you're thinking like, okay, so now you are truly out of mana, or not truly out, but you're almost out. You have enough mana for basically one ability. Maybe in a few seconds you'll have enough for two, if it's a Sand Soldier and your dash or something. But you don't have enough mana to really work with. You have just under 100. Your health bar is really low. This is very, if she were to land Light Binding and Lucent Singularity and Ignite and an auto attack after each of those things, you're dead. So you need to have a general feel for what the damage potential of your opponent is, so that you understand when it is that you're within lethal range, because right now you're either in it or you're really, really close. And so that should affect the way that you think about just how long whether you should even be in lane right now. So if you realize that you lost that trade, you got caught here, she auto-attacked you, and now you're this low. And if you're not killable, you're really close to being killable. So right now, let's just look at what you did as soon as you came out of that situation. Oops. Right about there works. So here you are. So she hits you with a light binding here. So this is the point where you lose the trade. You lost it right here. She auto attacks. That does a fair amount of damage to you, and you're at a third health, and she's at 2/3. And so right now it's kind of over unless she like overcommits and makes a mistake and steps into turret range or does something else that's really stupid. It's kind of over. So your Q is about to come off of cooldown. So you have a choice here. Are you going to try to harass Lux? Well, you could, but what is that really going to gain you? Can you kill Lux? No, you can't kill Lux. You physically do not have the damage to kill Lux right now. There's no way it's going to happen. She has too much health. Even if you land everything, your E isn't even up off a cooldown, but even if it was, even if you were able to pop up another soldier, Q her, and then dash to her, you do not have the damage to kill her before she kills you. Or before she runs away. She has flash and she has ignite. There's just no way you win this. So harassing her at this point is kind of a limited value. You don't have the resources to for it to be something where you harass her and now you'll be able to harass her again in a few seconds and again in a few seconds and then she's in lethal. This is pretty much your last gasp before you have to go back to base because you're almost out of mana and you're too low to stick around. So harassing her at this point is pretty inefficient. It doesn't make a lot of sense. You want to because she just hit you and you want to hit her back, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. If you step forward a bit and Q these minions, then you've reset the wave. You've cleared these, then these will push forward, or they'll continue attacking Lux or whatever, but then they'll push forward, and that will stall this incoming wave a bit. And that gives you more time to recall and come back to lane before Lux can shove this wave into your turret and the turret starts eating your CS. So in this situation, I think your best bet is not to attack Lux, is to step forward into range of controlling this soldier, or he might be about to expire, so you might have to spawn a new one, or whatever. But get into range so that you can send your soldiers up to kill these minions, and then just back off and recall, and come back to base fully loaded with health. And you have enough mana to get like an Amp Tome, or another Doran's Ring if you really want to be some early aggression. But you don't do that. You use your Q, which leaves you very little mana. You're back at 100. You do get these minions, which is solid. That's good that you are CSing and keeping up with Lux that way. But again, you have zero lane pressure. Lux holds all the cards right now. She has Ignite, your barrier is down. She has 2/3 health, you're at 1/3 health. She has 2/3 mana, you're at very little mana at all. She has all the cards. If she wants to go aggressive, there's nothing you can do. Or your barrier isn't off cooldown, I guess it's back up. That's right, you survived this, I forgot. So you do have barrier, so there's that. But she has all the cards right now, so you moving up even that far is just asking to get murdered. And again, this is where you got to understand how close you are to actually being within lethal range before committing to stuff like this, because Lux recognizes it way before you do. As she casts this, you realize you're in trouble and you start to back off. But all you have, you don't have mana for even well, you do now. You have mana to bring up one soldier and cast one Q, which is what you should be doing right now to slow her down, so that she can't get in range to cast this auto attack. Okay, so you barrier, she ignites, she gets the auto off, your barrier soaks up the auto and most of ignite, and then you flash. This was a pretty risky flash, but it ends up being okay because you do survive. But what you should have done, like I pointed out, is cleared those minions real quick and then recalled, so that you aren't in the situation of Lux having all of the power in the lane. You had no way to answer her if she decided to go aggressive, and because she realized that, she went aggressive, and you lost. And now you're down. Now you're down flash and barrier, and you're going to be down a bunch of CS because she didn't have to. You didn't clear those minions out and recall immediately. She was able to spend a little bit extra time letting the wave develop, and now she can clear these minions really quickly, and they're all going to go into your turret. So you end up sticking around, which is again just really risky at this point, for a couple of minions. But you got to be thinking at this point, right now, is it really in your best interest to try to last hit 1 or 2 minions here? Is that really gain you what you want in the long run? Yeah, because you missed the cannon anyway. So okay, yeah, so you don't get anything for it. You were trying to get the cannon, but all you ended up doing there was wasting the time it took you to channel, then walk up, and now you have to rechannel. So now you're having to spend another 8 seconds channeling. So all in all, you were about 6 seconds into your channel. That means you're 2 seconds away from going back to base, and once you hit base, you're waiting for your heal, and you buy items, and you walk away. So you wasted that 6 seconds because you canceled the recall, and then you walk up, which is another few seconds. So all in all, you wasted, that's about 10 to 15 seconds that are just dead time. And it's time that Lux is using to shove the lane, and the turret is eating your CS. And then now you're channeling another 8 seconds. And so all in all, you've spent, you spend 16 seconds or 14 seconds recalling, and 5 or 6 seconds here trying to last hit. And so that's time that, it's 20 seconds. It's a 20-second recall as opposed to an 8-second recall. And when we're talking about seconds, maybe it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. But this turret is attacking your minions every one of those seconds. Bam, 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 bam. Lux will have plenty of time to come in and clear this wave and have this one also shove into the turret. Actually, it's using him to clear the wave. This one's just going to shove into the turret, and then that will eat that one. So Lux is going to establish a pretty substantial CS advantage here, which is very likely to set the tone for this whole lane. She's already been bullying you pretty heavily. And now she's going to have a gigantic CS advantage. Unless she just misses everything here somehow. Okay, so you go for the second Doran's, which is fine. Some potions. You absolutely should grab a ward here. I would have... How much gold do you have left? Yeah, I would have held off on like one of those potions. And since you bought a Doran's and a Fairy Charm, I would have held off on one of the mana potions and bought a ward. Or both of the mana potions. I bought a pink ward since it's Shaco. But vision is going to be super important because now that you're behind, Shaco is going to be looking for ways to capitalize on that. Because you're an easy kill now, or you're perceived to be an easy kill. Okay, so Lux is gone. You need to shove this either a lot faster so that you're shoving the wave into her turret so that it's eating her CS while she's gone. Well, that's what that's just what you need. That's what you just got to do. There's no either. It's just that's what you got to do in this situation. Okay, nice juke. You can walk right back this way after you juke it though. Don't need to commit this far over here. And this is where that ward would have saved your life. Because without... We'll see if you're able to survive this here, but without flash or barrier, I'm skeptical. Yeah. So you came back to lane. You know that Shaco is going to be around. His buffs are all down. His second buffs have not come up yet, so he's in his ganking window. So he's looking for something to gank. You come back. Lux just forced you out of lane. Your flash and barrier are down, so you are very vulnerable. Plus the wave is pushing. So you're pushing the wave forward toward the turret, so you're over here, as opposed to like, back here under your turret or something. You're out here way out in the lane. You don't have flash, you don't have barrier. If Lux is smart, she has told Shaco those things. So you got to be very aware of just how vulnerable you are to that. And have a plan to counter it. So you did ward this. I think this is your ward. Yeah. You didn't buy a ward in base though, so if you can look at the map and just look at the situation when you're back at base after surviving that, and you can say to yourself, okay, my flash is down, my barrier is down, so I'm pretty vulnerable. It's right about prime time for Shaco ganks because of the time that it is on the clock right now. and I can see the wave is going to be pushing because of just the way the wave is laid out right now. There's more minions on my side, and they're closer to my turret. So over the next several seconds, it's going to push toward that side. And so, all in all, when I get back to base, I'm going to be pushed out. I'm not going to flash. I'm not going to have barrier. I need to buy a ward, and I need to be very, very conservative about how aggressive I go. I need to have my dash just primed and ready for me to head back to my turret. So let's see after this gank happens if there was something else that maybe you could have done. So let's look at this just from your perspective here and what you can see. So here we are, you're back to lane, now you're pushing the wave a bit. You just dodged Lux's light binding. Now here she's going weirdly aggressive. Oh, this is where you dodged Lux's light binding. Okay, so that's fine. You don't know where Shaco is, and you are cheating to the side of your ward, so that's good. This is when you have a ward down, you do want to cheat to that side of the lane, so that's solid. So let's just see what happens here. Okay, so Lux is last hitting, you're last hitting, and harassing at the same time, except that you're missing the last hits, so that's unfortunate, but... Okay, now Lux is going weirdly aggressive. And so this is the point where you just need to use your dash, because this is telegraphing that there's a gank happening right now. And what are you going to do if you run this way? Can you outrun, if it's Shaco and he has his backstab, which is a slow, can you outrun him? Can you outrun Lux's light binding? Well, maybe for a few seconds, but if you run this way, it's going to be a lot longer than a few seconds that you have to outrun him. Maybe if you get to here, you could like throw your soldier over the wall and then dash through the wall. But they're still going to be able to beat you back to your turret. So your best bet is just to head directly back to your turret. So right now, I would like to see, I want to see you. I'm going to back it up again and just see what your cooldowns are, because sometimes the... I think your Q is off a cooldown when this happens. I'm pretty sure it is. Okay, so she's last hitting, she's just being normal Lux, and now all of a sudden she's going super aggressive. Why would she be coming out here if it wasn't because she's trying to go aggressive? It's possible that she's just trying to catch you out alone, but that would be pretty bold. She can't burst you from 100 to 0 yet, she doesn't have the items, so that would be a little bit weird if she was just trying to randomly go full all in. So probably that means that Shaco is here. So I'm pretty sure... Oh, your Q isn't off a cooldown. Did you just use it? Well, now it's coming up. Okay, so it was on cooldown, I guess. But instead of moving your Q back to your turret, you just dash straight to it. Or your soldier, you just dash straight to him. Which doesn't really gain you anything. You dodge the light binding, which is good. But it doesn't really gain... It doesn't get you any closer to safety, right? You're about the same distance away from safety as you were before. So you're just going to try to run. Which isn't going to really work out for you. So, again, you didn't... I'm not seeing where you're using your Q. Oh, you just messed it up there. You W Q'd, but the Q didn't actually go anywhere. So yeah, when you do that, when you're here, instead of just dashing to the minion, Q it here first. Or call up a new one and Q back to your turret. Always run to safety if you can. You want to try to be a little bit unpredictable. Instead of just making like a straight line for your turret, that's pretty easy to predict if there's skill shots involved. But Lux's light binding was down. She had just used it. So use your QE to get here. You can, if you get the QE down right, you can actually send the Q out and then E to follow it. Or you can actually E to your soldier. So you can like cast a soldier here, E to the soldier, and then Q while you're in motion, and your E will follow the whole way. And you'll end up like here, or so, which is which is within distance of getting to your turret pretty easily. Okay, I'm gonna speed up a little bit here, and we'll just see how the rest of the lane phase goes. So the things I'm pointing out are kind of just like some circumstantial things where you could have maybe made some better decisions in the moment. Once I've kind of finished looking at some of that stuff, I'll talk about maybe some bigger picture stuff in terms of just how to think about matchups like this and champion pool and some strategy about how to deal with situations like this. So at this point, it's good that you are just focusing on farming and not really with trading with her, because you are really not in position to be trading with her because of where things are in the matchup. Fortunately, she is not CSing very well because your CS is really behind, both because you're missing a lot and also because you've been forced out of lane twice, once by being low and once by being dead. So right now, okay, at 10 minutes, let's just finish the 10-minute wave here. Let's see how many of these you get. Missed that one, missed that one. Yeah, she kind of just zones you out all of these. Okay. So, perfect CS at this point is something in the neighborhood of like 110. Or 114 maybe. That's like what's theoretically possible in terms of how many minions have come to lane. Realistic CS is somewhere between 90 and 100. Like, well, not realistic. That's fantastic in-game CS is somewhere between 90 and 100. That's like amazing if you can get that. 80 to 90 is really good. 70 to 80 is that's kind of your minimum. And so someone like Azir actually doesn't, I mean, level 1 he can have a hard time CSing, but as soon as you get your Q, you shouldn't have that hard a time CSing. You're ranged, plus you have your soldiers, which do a fair amount of damage, and you can move them around to where you need them to be to last hit. So you shouldn't, on Azir, you really should not have any trouble getting to 70 by 10 minutes. I'm actually kind of surprised that you're at 50, given how many I've seen go down without you last hitting it. But you shouldn't have any real issues getting to 70 CS at 10. Lux has been pressuring you, but not really that hard. She pressured you harder early, but a lot of that was due to kind of your positioning and stuff, and so that stuff you can clean up. You can clean up your positioning. If you had left sooner instead of sticking around, you would have lost fewer minions to your turret. But most of it is just mechanical. So some of it was the fact that you got forced out of lane. But honestly, most of the CS that you're down, the reason you're not at 70, I would say probably I don't know, maybe 2/3 of it. Because you probably could be closer to 80 realistically in this matchup if you had it really down well. Probably 2/3 of that is just mechanics. You're just missing a ton. Now Azir is tricky to CS with. I know I just said that he's not that hard to CS with. Like, but what I mean by that is, like, mechanically he's tricky to CS with because you're trying to keep track of so many different things at once, because he's got his soldiers in a couple of different locations, he's got his own auto attacks, so he's keeping track of however many different things all at once. Whereas somebody like Lux is much more straightforward. Like, she sees something once she last hit, and she either casts an ability at it or she auto attacks it. Whereas you know, it's kind of similar, I guess, but due to the way your sand soldiers work, it's just a little trickier. And so it's not so Azir, someone who is experienced on Azir and is good at Azir will be able to farm pretty easily in situations like this. But it takes a while to get good enough at Azir to be able to do that. So anyway, your CS could be a lot better right now. And if it was, it wouldn't matter that Lux had this kill. You would still be even and ahead in CS. Or even in ahead in gold, I mean, if your CS was better. So that's definitely something to work on. It's a fundamental thing. It's not very exciting. It's not like the one secret that will get you to diamond, or something like that. Well, actually, is the one secret that will get you to diamond. It's a fundamental mechanic that is vitally important at every level of play. And so it's something you got to work on and got to get better at. And got to practice. You can pull up custom games where it's just you versus the minions and just practice last hitting so that it comes down to muscle memory, so you don't have to think about it as much anymore. It just happens automatically. Okay, let's move on here. Okay, you wasted barrier there. But other than that, You got out pretty successfully. I don't know why you stuck around, though. That was really dangerous to stick around here. So you got out, and now you need to leave. You pop barrier unnecessarily, but you need to leave. Like, maybe this is okay, but you got to keep in mind that Lux has such long range with her stuff. She's over level 6, so she has her ult, and you're stuck between the turret and the wall. This is the easiest ult in the world to hit. And so she doesn't cast it right then, thankfully. And misjudges which side of the turret you're going to juke to. So you should be dead here. Lux misses like 3 of her skill shots on you in a row. So you're kind of just a free kill at this point. There wasn't realistically a way you could help Hecarim, and you needed to leave. And oh my gosh, you need to leave now. Because she's going to kill you, dude. Yeah. See, you just gotta just recognize this. This is just risk reward. So what's your expected value of staying here? Like, when you're this low, can you realistically pressure Lux? Or is Lux going to be the one pressuring you? If you want to stick around in CS, you need to be able to have some amount of pressure so that you can CS without her just walking up and murdering you. She has to respect you enough to give you space so that you can CS, so that you can focus on hitting something other than her. She has to respect your damage potential enough. When you're this low, she doesn't have to respect you at all. She lands one ability and you're toast. So she doesn't have to respect you at all when you're that low. So you cannot come back to lane and try to CS right now. You cannot do it. If you do, you might pick up 1 CS, and then she kills you, and you give her a kill, and you lose all of these. And not only do you lose all of these, like if you leave right now, you'll lose these minions. Because Lux will kill this one, and these will go into the turret. You might lose 1 or 2 of these, but that's it. You're going to lose these, and maybe 1 or 2 of these by the time you get back. If you die, not only have you given Lux a kill, but you're going to lose these, all of these, and maybe even some of the next one by the time you get back to lane. So it feels like you need to get back and you need to try to CS because you don't want to give up that gold. You want to try to get everything you can, but you're actually giving up way more than you would be by just conceding and leaving lane because you're realistically analyzing the situation and realizing that if you go back, you're very likely dead. So this is another situation where you just need to leave and cut your losses and get out. Okay. So that happened. So the rest of your team isn't doing super hot either. Ashe is the only one that has a kill right now. Okay. So that, you know, when you find yourself in a situation where your team is not doing super well, this is not the end of the world. It's a very early game. The gold differential is not that big, and there's plenty of opportunities to swing it back in your favor. But at this point, you got to start thinking along the lines of stopping the bleeding. So you need to they are ahead. Bot lane's turret is down, which means that the enemy bot lane will probably start roaming. Shaco is obviously always going to be roaming. But potentially now, you could very easily have 4 people in your lane at a moment's notice. And unless you have the vision set up so that you know that that is not happening, and you don't right now, you do not have enough vision of these guys. By the time this ward catches them, it's probably too late. So you don't know where their bot lane is, you don't know where Shaco is. Since you are behind, you don't have a lot of bullying power, and Lux does. You have no business being up this far. This is so risky, especially again, your flash and barrier are down. What are you going to do if you get caught? Even if just Lux catches you, she can probably murder you right now. So this is so over aggressive and risky to be up this far. You cleared the first wave, and then you just need to back off and let Lux push it back towards you. You know, maybe go dirty farm the Wraiths or the Razorbeaks or the Wolves. Go pick those up while you're waiting, and then come back to lane and CS the wave that Lux is shoved in. But this is just suicidally over aggressive to try to push it, because you can see you're trying to last hit these, but now you end up losing more than you gained. Because Because getting those few CS was not worth losing that much health. Because now you're dead again. Because here comes that OP. Oh, that was a nice wall. That was a good reaction to the gank. Nice dash. But yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do in a situation like that. So mechanically, you handled that, you responded to that pretty well. But you should never have been in that situation in the first place. Where you were that low. So I'm glad to see that you're not just tunneling on trying to get kills or trying to just go super aggressive on Lux or something. That's a common problem at low elo that I've seen. But what you are doing, it seems like, is you're just tunneling on, I have to lane, I have to CS, I have to farm. That's what I gotta do. I gotta farm. I'm down in farm, I gotta farm. I gotta catch up. And there's two problems with that. You're pushing forward to farm kind of at all costs. You're not thinking about the danger that you're putting yourself in when you push that far up. So you're not thinking about your position. You're not really aware of what could be happening in the fog of war. You're not buying enough wards to cover your flanks to push up that far. So you're not really paying attention to the map so you're tunneling on the farm and you're not paying enough attention to the situation. And you've put yourself in significant danger by overextending twice now. The other problem is that your farming mechanics are really poor on Azir. And so you have the right idea that you need to focus on farm, but you lack the mechanical skill to get it done. And so that's just practice. So the first problem is strategic, it's decision making. You need to think and you need to be aware. You need to look and see that bot lane turret is down and that the bot lane is not there. And you need to have a more accurate idea of where they might be. Just because you can't see them does not mean that you're safe from them. This isn't, kindergarten hide and seek. This is if you cannot see them, then you need to assume that they are headed to you if you are overextended like this. If you're pushed up this way, you're on their side of the map, and that's setting off a red flag. We got to deal with him. Look, he's vulnerable. He's pushed. And if bot lane is done taking the turret and they're in the fog of war, and especially when you hear dragon go down, you can safely assume that they're on their way, or that they might be on their way at a moment's notice. And so for you to be up here, risking taking damage from Lux, who has already established the fact that she's ahead of you and can bully you, you end up losing half your health just getting back to your turret when Lux decides to force them at her and go aggressive. And you're at half health, and then when bot ganks, it's an easy matter to kill you, even though you do respond to it mechanically pretty well. Or not mechanically, but just you use your abilities pretty well to respond to the gank. You're at half health, and so they kill you anyway. If you were at full health, because you read the map a little bit better, and you didn't overextend like that, then either they don't gank you there, or you have enough health to survive the gank, and you're okay. So, it's good that you're focusing on wanting to get farm, or at least it seems that way. But you got to be thinking in terms of risk and reward. You got to be thinking about the map and where the enemy team might be. Because getting 1 or 2 CS is not worth putting yourself at so much risk or in so much danger that you end up losing the next 10 CS. Okay, so they really overextend and dive. They're far enough ahead at this point, though, that they can kind of muscle their way through it. Rise crushed Poppy. That could have been a triple kill if she had gone to a more damage-focused item. There it is. This is gone. You need to just seed this. Do not overcommit to defending this. Oh boy, dude, the second time you've gotten out by just the skin of your teeth. Okay, so you got Merlinomicon, which is a fine first starting item. You could also go with Themes. Themes actually might be worth considering this game, because the Themes will give you a little bit more magic resist. It costs a little bit more, but it gives you more magic resist. There's not really anybody on this team that the passive on Merlinomicon will help you against. There's nobody other than late game Misfortune who's relying on sustain. So the Grievous Wounds is of limited value, and so the passive on Athene's is a mana regeneration passive, which you know, Azir doesn't have that many mana troubles past early game, and so, you know, whatever on that. That's but it gives you some magic resist, which since you have Lux, Rise, Tom Kench, Shaco does some magic damage, but he's building AD, and then even Misfortune does some magic damage, or she used to anyway. I think her ult does some magic damage. So you got at least 3 out of the 5 team members are doing substantial AP, and the other 2 are doing at least a little bit. So the magic resist will pay big dividends on Athene's. So that might have been the better way to go this game. That's just an awareness thing. If, you know, you got to be aware of what Tom Kench can do. If he decides to do it, I mean, this, I don't know when this game was played for sure in relation to when Tom was released. So maybe, you know, maybe he just kind of caught you off guard with that. You weren't really thinking that he could do that. But right now, and this is 15 seconds ago, right now you have your team here, but they're all recalling. And so again, you got to be thinking through, like you can see that they're recalling. So what are you hoping to accomplish here? Like, can you kill anybody? Can you meaningfully pressure them? Can you get somebody to like half health? Can you meaningfully delay their push? Can you wipe out this wave and slow their shove down? You're not really in position to do any of those things. And so being here in the first place is just really, it's just kind of needlessly risky. Like, they're going to push this, and you can't really do anything about it. If you can let them get to here, you can fight them. You guys just want to fight because they over-aggressed on a turret. You can probably make that happen again if you fall back and are patient and make them dive you under your inhibitor turret. This is where teams throw games all the time, is under this turret. So make them do that. Don't allow them to fight you out here. I realize you're playing back, but you know, you're not really thinking about Tom Kench's ult and what he's able to do. Shaco also, I mean, you can see him right now, but he has the ability to kind of walk off into the fog of war here a little bit, and then all of a sudden be behind you if he's any good. And Lux has really long range abilities, so there's a lot. You are in more danger than you probably think you are right now, but especially with Tom Kench's ult. So you see the ult and you try to run, but it's too late by then, and you're dead. And now they can probably take this turret. So at this point, things are probably feeling pretty hopeless. You know, you're defending the turret as far as you can. Set up your Azir turret. So that's not a great time to set up the Azir turret because it's not going to do anything for you. It's going to be dead by the time this wave pushes, probably, or really close. And it's not going to help you defend again. You're not doing any damage to people. So hold on to your passive until it's actually going to be useful for you. Ideally, hold on to it until it's going to be useful in a fight, or to defend a lane. Right now it's just going to sit here and time out before it does anything for you. And it's a really long cooldown, so that's not ideal. Yeah. That's a result of being behind and still going into your jungle when you don't have good vision anyway. Like, if you know they're over here doing dragon, why are you guys in the jungle at all? You can't contest it. You don't have the manpower. You don't have the vision to contest it. So if you suspect they're doing dragon and you walk up to try to contest it and it turns out they're all in this bush, you're dead. If you know they're doing dragon, but you don't know if all of them are doing dragon, you walk up, it turns out only Shaco and Tom Kench are doing dragon and the other 3 are in here and you're dead. If you know all 5 are doing dragon, but you don't have vision of it, so I'm not sure how you know all 5 are doing there, but whatever. But you don't have vision of any of this area, and you don't have a good sense of when the dragon is going to go down, and you come in here, then you don't have a good sense of, like, you know, are they about to finish the dragon and come boiling over this wall? Is it going to be several seconds? I don't know. You don't have the vision. And so that's what happens here, is you walk into the jungle anyway, and they come out from doing dragon and murder you, and Annie too. I'm a little confused as to what prompts the surrender here. Like, you guys actually just, like, that was actually your most successful fight yet. And you haven't lost an inhibitor. So, in games like this, I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe this is like a 4-man pre-made and they just surrendered on you. I'm not sure. Maybe so. I don't know if you clicked, I mean, somebody didn't vote, so I'm not sure if you hit yes or no, or didn't vote, or you obviously didn't hit no. I'm not sure if you voted for it or if this was beyond your control. But as a rule of thumb, if the enemy team takes an inhibitor before you have taken a turret, that's a good time to surrender. Not every time, but that's a rule. As a rule of thumb, that works pretty well. They have not yet taken an inhibitor, and you've gotten at least one turret down. These turrets are where, I think I said this already, but are where teams throw all the time because they're difficult to take. They're difficult to coordinate and siege and dive. Those are all like pretty complicated teamwork things, and at low elo especially, teams are not good at doing it. And so they throw here all the time, overcommitting, over-aggressing, overstaying, sieging poorly, not realizing the counter-engage potential, on and on and on and on. And so until one of these goes down, there's a good chance that if you guys are able to be patient and turtle up in here, that you can come back into this game. It'll take a little while, but you can. Excuse me. So you guys do end up fighting in the jungle, which is probably not a great idea, but you do have some better vision control now. You've got some more wards up. Poppy doesn't have Triforce yet, but she ends up picking up a couple of kills here, so I'm not sure why you surrendered. This game was not over by any stretch. You had not had a chance to get your items and to get into a power spike. Neither had anybody else, really. This is definitely a game that you guys could have come back on, depending on how the enemy team played the siege game. So, I don't think this was a good surrender. Okay, so some overall stuff. When you are behind in a lane, you need to start playing much more conservatively. Azir versus Lux. Lux is going to bully you early. It's possibly that you can turn the Tides on her after a couple of levels and maybe an item and start bullying her. But she has enough range on her abilities and stuff that she can fall back and play pretty safe if she's smart. So there's a good chance that this just ends up being a farm lane, unless somebody gets some sort of sizable advantage over the other, which Lux did. And she did largely because of you let her bully you in that window early. You kind of were too far up. You took too many skill shots, so you got to just work on that. Work on your just avoiding skill shots, on not putting yourself in positions where it's easy to hit you with skill shots. Try to get in kind of Lux's head and think through where, if you were playing Lux, where you would cast them out, what times you would do, and then try to avoid those spots and situations. Your farming mechanics I already mentioned are really weak on Azir, so you need to work on that and polishing that. Over aggression several times bites you really hard by shoving the lane too far up when you don't have the vision and map awareness to do so. So there's several things about the way you played lane that could be a lot stronger. I mean, even if Lux wins lane, you don't come out 0-5, or you didn't come out 0-5. You don't come out 0-2 or whatever you came out of lane phase, 0-3. You come out, 0-1 maybe. Because you did die once, yeah, but after that you made a substantial adjustment to your strategy and your approach to the lane, and you did not allow Lux to kill you again. It just was not going to happen on your watch. You stopped trying to win the lane, you stopped trying to get every CS possible, you stopped trying to bully and kill Lux, and you switched to focusing purely on getting what CS you are able to while denying Lux kills. Because denying Lux kills becomes your new most important skill. Or important goal, not skill. So you can come out of this lane not nearly as far behind, and then consequently Lux is not nearly this far ahead, and so the power differential swings pretty substantially back towards you guys, or towards an even playing field. And then yeah, vision. So you didn't buy wards, you didn't upgrade your trinket. I know you just hit level 10, so you haven't had very long where you could have upgraded it. But this item right here, upgrading your warding totem into an upgraded yellow trinket, the one that lets you have 2 green wards, or 2 charges of green wards, this is like the single most powerful item in the game. This item will win you more games than any of the items that go in these other slots. if you are using it consistently. Get this thing upgraded at level 9 every time you possibly can, no matter what champion you're playing. Unless you're playing like support and you have a sightstone, so you're going to buy, you know, red trinket. Or sometimes junglers like to buy red trinket too. So in bronze, honestly though, I would probably err on the side of just letting the support have the red trinket and have everybody else have yellow trinkets, upgraded yellow trinkets. Because the chances are lower that the enemy team is going to be warding very much, and so the red trinket is going to be less valuable. But anyway, you need to improve your warding game too, your vision game, so that you are able to, you know, so that you know whether you can push up this far or not to try to farm, so that you know where they're hiding in the jungle waiting for you while they're doing dragon, you know, so that you can win fights like this you did more consistently because you are able to set them up and not just walk blindly into them and throw the dice and hope you win. So the other kind of big picture thing that I want to talk about a little bit is something I've told a few of my students, but that when you are at a low level and you are learning to play League of Legends, and that's where you are. I hope that you realize that that's where you are. You are still learning to play League of Legends. There is a lot that you need to learn. There's a lot of things. This game didn't go very long, so we didn't, you know, have a chance to look at a lot of mid and late game stuff, but there's a lot of things that I'm not even touching on that happened in lane and are happening throughout the kind of the little bit of mid game we had that are pretty suboptimal. And not just you, but everyone on your team is doing, and on their team for that matter. So there's a lot of things that you aren't doing correctly, and so you are still trying to learn to play League of Legends. And not only play League of Legends, but trying to play mid lane. I noticed in your on your OPGG profile that you kind of bounce around between a lot of different things. You play a fair amount of Udyr, some Blitzcrank, some Zed, some Lissandra. So, and it's fine to, you know, to do a variety of things. It looks like you mostly play Team Builder. And maybe you just play support when you go ranked or something. No, you play a jungle ranked game here. But anyway, you play a wide variety of things. I've seen some Gnar games, some ADC games. So one thing that can be really helpful is to try to narrow down your scope. So you're just trying to learn mid and top, or mid and jungle, or support and ADC, or, you know, you have a main role and like a backup role, and you do what you can to get those every game. You want to be able to play every role at least a little bit, but I would really like to see, like, you know, whatever you decide your main champion or role is, I would really like to see, you know, instead of looking at your most played champions on your OPGG, be just all over the place. I have a jungler, a mid laner, a support, another mid laner, a top lane slash jungler, a support slash mid laner, and a jungle slash solo laner slash support. Kayle can be whatever. I see all of those on there. They're all over the place. You have somebody that you know, you have 4 of the roles at least, and maybe even top lane. So you probably have all 5 roles represented there in your most played champions, in ranked anyway. And then overall, you've got all over the place too. You're kind of playing everything. And that makes it really hard to kind of get better at a specific aspect of the game, because you're just kind of jack of all trades, master of none. And being able to play everything is good. You want to have a working knowledge of all the roles, and as you learn, it's good to try to be able to play those roles at a higher level, because then you learn the game more holistically. And it is one viable way to climb. I don't want to just say that you shouldn't do this flat out. The thing to keep in mind is that if you're going to be jumping all over the place, playing every different role, it's just going to take you a lot longer to improve and get better at the game, because you're learning so many different things at once. Because playing mid is very different from playing top, is very different from playing bot, is very different from playing jungle. And so they all have the specific jobs that they bring to the team. They all have specific mechanics that are specific to their lane. There's just a lot of things that you have to learn about each of those roles. And so if you're trying to learn all of it at once, then it's gonna slow down your learning curve, your learning process on all of them. So that's just something to be aware of. Maybe you think maybe that's fine and you're okay with that, and so be it. That's great. But then I'm noticing that you're trying to play Zed and Rengar and now Azir, and even Gnar is probably, Gnar's not quite as bad, but. And Kayle too, although Kayle's not quite as bad. I can give you Kayle. But Azir and Zed and Rengar, even even Udyr, although Udyr's borderline, so I'll just stick to Azir, Zed, and Rengar. I don't want you to play those champs anymore, because if you were able to play Zed, I see you have 9 games on Zed this season, so you don't play ranked very much. But I don't know how much you played him in Team Builder, but I'll just use Zed as an example, because I don't know how many Azir games you have. Maybe this was one of your first Azir games, but you have 9 games on Zed. If you were able to play Zed at even a 50% of what Zed is capable of, you would skyrocket out of bronze into gold, at least. And if you were able to play Zed to his full potential, even if you were really bad at League of Legends, at map awareness and decision making, if you were just mechanically able to play Zed at 100% level, you would be in diamond on that alone. Zed is that strong of a champion. And Rengar is too, for that matter. And Azir is too right now, for that matter. They all are. But the problem is, they are so difficult to play that well, to play at even 50% capability. It takes you so long to just learn and practice and get good enough at those champions and understand the matchups and understand the mechanics and understand the burst and the damage they can put out and when they are good and when they are bad and how to use them effectively in every situation. It takes so long to learn to use those champions optimally that you're slowing yourself way down again. So when trying to learn Zed and trying to learn Azir, you're slowing yourself way down again. And so, whereas if you were to play a champion like Lux, who is much more straightforward, there's not a lot of complexity to Lux's kit. It's pretty, it's powerful, and it's not that it's like dumb as a bunch of rocks or anything. There's definitely, you know, ways to play it optimally and use it well, but it's not nearly as complicated as Azir or Zed or Rengar. It's pretty straightforward compared to that. Annie, even more so, is very straightforward. She's extremely strong, has a lot of room for optimal play, but there's not really anything complicated about her mechanics. She's pretty straightforward, and so those two are just examples of really good champions to play at low levels when you're still learning the game, because you can pick up Annie, and in 5 games you are playing Annie at like 60 or 70% potential at worst. Whereas after 5 games on Azir, you're probably at 20% potential. And 5 games on Zed, you're at 20% potential, maybe. And so you put the same amount of time that you would put into Zed into Annie, and you're playing Annie at a much higher level. And so then you're playing Annie pretty effectively because you've practiced her for a few games and you're pretty effective on her. You understand her kit pretty well, or as well as you can after a few games. And now you're not having to wrestle with that complicated champion, and you can work on learning mid. And you can work on learning League of Legends. So again, if you're going to be skipping around, then okay, maybe you haven't really figured out what you enjoy playing the most, and you're still trying to figure that out, and that's great. That's totally fine. And again, if you don't care about it taking for a while to get better at the game, again, this is just something to be aware of. But then to couple it with really complicated champions, you're going to be in bronze for a really, really, really long time if that's what you choose to do. And if that's what you choose to do, then so be it. That's on you, and that's fair. That's not a bad choice or a wrong choice. You just need to be aware of what you're doing. Whereas if you were to pick up Annie or Lux or stick with Udyr and Blitzcrank, I noticed you have played some Annie games, and yeah, your win ratio is way better with her than it is on Zed. So that kind of just illustrates what I'm talking about. You have 8 games on Annie and 9 games on Zed, and your win ratio with Zed is 33, and your win ratio with Annie is 63. Your KDA is similar, oddly enough, but you're winning games with Annie and you're losing games with Zed. So, just kind of to back up the point that I'm making, I guess. So anyway, try to narrow your focus maybe down to a main role and a backup role, and try to focus your champion pool on some champions that are not so complex, so mechanically intense. And I think you will see a much faster rate of improvement on your play, if that is your goal, is improving your play. And so on top of those kind of champion pool types of things, work on your CS mechanics and work on vision. Buy wards, discipline yourself to buy wards, discipline yourself to upgrade that trinket, get that vision down. And then dial back just the aggression. Think ahead, think through things before you just walk up this far into lane. Ask yourself that question, who could be in this bush? Look at the minimap, who could possibly be in this bush? And basically, possibly, it's anybody that you can't see on the minimap. So if Lux is here, but nobody else is visible, you can safely assume that all 4 of them are here. And even if it turns out that they're not, you don't lose anything by assuming that and backing off and playing safer. And if you get wards up, then you don't have to assume. Now you can know that this bush is safe, and you can assume that maybe down here is where all 4 of them are. But as long as you have vision in this bush and this bush, that doesn't matter, because you have plenty. As soon as all 4 of them walk into here, you have plenty of time to back off. So now you can afford to be that aggressive because you've set the vision up. So anyway, I won't rehash that point anymore. Thank you for a chance to look at this game. I appreciate it, and I hope this is helpful. Best of luck.